Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with Link Click, episode 5.5 of season 1, I have to specify. Because when I was originally reacting to season 1, I never did this. Because I had thought at the time that 5.5 was like basically a recap episode. Or even if it wasn't specifically a recap, I figured it was probably pointless filler that wasn't going to be altogether important. But as I've been reacting to season 2, there were some characters who appeared that I didn't recognize and was confused by, and I was told that they appeared in this episode. So I figured I should probably go back and do this. I should probably get to this episode. Now, because we're going back and doing a season 1 episode and everything, and because it's also kind of like a special episode with it being 5.5, I'm going to do something different for this one. This one we are going to be checking out the English dub for. Now, the rest of the main series and all will still be in the original Chinese. But just for this special episode, just for 5.5, I wanted to check out the dub. Because I haven't heard it, and I don't know mostly who's in it. And I say mostly because I know who voices the two main characters, Cheng Xiaoxi and Lu Guang. And I found this out through Twitter, really randomly. See, I follow one of the voice actors. Actually, I follow both of them. But I follow one of them on Twitter specifically. And he posted... He made a tweet about the new Cheng Xiaoxi and Lu Guang figures that are coming out. The, what are they called? Nendroids. He was getting excited over them and tagged his fellow co-star in it to just gush about having Nendroids for the two main characters. The voice actor I'm talking about is Alejandro Saab, also known as Kagi Films and various other names. He voices Cheng Xiaoxi. I've heard him in various things. I've even watched his YouTube content. He's reacted to stuff like Hell of a Boss. I think he's kind of currently left that behind, though. I think he's kind of moving on from that just due to time constraints and various reasons. But he's done some fun stuff in that regard. So he was, again, he tweeted about this and he was getting super excited and he tagged his co-star in it. The voice of Lu Guang. And I've met the voice of Lu Guang. Obviously, before I ever even got into Link Click, before I knew he was the voice of Lu Guang and everything. So I didn't know when I met him, but I know him for a lot of other roles. And those of you on this channel might know him for one very specific trauma baby who, let's just say, has to deal with whether he's a human, a witch, something in between. Yes, the voice of Lu Guang is Zeno Robinson, who also voices the likes of Hunter, the Golden Guard, from the Owl House. He's also various other things in various other properties. He's Go in Pokemon Journeys, for example. He's in the dub of ReZero. He does a lot with Annalise Quinones. They're like really close friends and everything, and they've done a lot of roles together. So yeah, and I met him at Youmacon one year, 2021, I believe it was. So there you have it. Me with Zeno Robinson. For those of you who hadn't seen this in the past and everything. But yeah. So he is the voice of Lu Guang. I don't know who else is in this besides him and Alejandro Saab. So I guess that'll be a surprise. I don't know if I'll recognize any other voices. Just depends on the VAs, I guess. Like if Monica Rial's in this, I'd probably recognize her pretty quick. Just because she has a very distinct voice, I feel. But otherwise, I don't know. But yeah, I'm very excited to see this, to check out the dub. It's probably the only time we're going to do so on the channel, and I thought it's just, we're going back to this anyways. It's a special episode, and I'm curious. But like I said, we're not going to be switching permanently with the rest of the main series with Season 2 and everything. We're going to continue with the Chinese. It's just for this one episode. Just to check it out, just to see how good it is. And I mean, I already know I like the two main voice actors, so it's like, I already know I'm probably going to like their performances. But we'll see. We'll see. I guess we're just going to get this started, because I don't know what to expect other than the fact that the characters who were in episode... Was it episode 2 or 3? I think it's episode 2 of Season 2. The characters who I was confused about, they're going to be in this, and I guess we're going to learn more about them. One of them, I was already told I technically already know of, but I guess we're going to see more of here. So yeah. I'm just curious. We'll see. We'll see what this is like. And just continue on with our normal Season 2 stuff tomorrow. On our normal day for that. But let's get this going. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I went back to Season 2, Episode 3, after I finished the recording here, and because I wanted to, get info. I wanted to see what was going on with the 3 older people and everything. This episode, 5.5 here, did show, like, pretty much everything that we needed to know. And it explains everything, like, even what that, like, flash of light in episode 3 of Season 2 was, like, why it showed that, like, when the father of the 2 others, it's because he was using his special move. And I went back and looked at that, and I was wondering, like, okay, I can see with Master Siwen, who is Shaoxi and Shaoling's teacher. Yes, I see that's him and everything. And the girl there is Ouyang, the girl he was suiting after for decades, clearly. But the father looked different. And then I read the line on the subtitles, and he said, Ouyang said, in order to get him to look more like Lu Guang, because they were pretending the relation, we finally convinced Dad to get a haircut and a shave, and it's like, that's it. He doesn't have the facial hair, and his hair is slightly different. So that's why he looked so different. Because I'm watching this, I'm seeing them older, and it's like, okay, Ouyang and Master Siwen, yes, that's very much them from. But that's why I went back and checked on the episode 3 of season 2 again, because I'm like, who was the third guy then? Because the father doesn't look like the guy I remember. But that's why. And again, the flashing of the light was because the father used his special technique. It's like, if I had watched this, everything would have been explained. I would have understood everything if I had watched this beforehand. It would have explained literally everything. So all of my confusions and questions and everything on that episode and on these three specifically completely answered. Now it even explains how they know Cheng Xiaoxi, Lu Guang, and Xiaoling. It explains literally everything. Like I said, I initially didn't watch this because I thought it was going to be like filler or a recap episode, because it's 5.5. Like, it feels weird to title an episode after that, unless it's going to be like a recap or something. Right? I can't be the only one who thinks that. Like, usually when an episode is listed as 5.5, it's because it's a recap. And even on like the websites where I get these videos from, it is a completely separate listing. Like when I'm on the link click listing to get all the episodes, it's just 1 through 11 for season 1. 5.5 isn't even on there. I have to go literally, I have to type in a separate listing just for that, because it's considered separate. It's not considered part of the main story. And as you watch this, that's very clear. It's its own separate, secluded thing. But like I said, it clearly explains things that are in the canon material for season 2. So I would actually consider this episode extremely important, at least in that regard. I don't know if these three are going to return again in the future, but at least in terms of that scene in season 2, well, actually a couple of scenes, basically that episode, it is important. Now, this episode, just talking about it as it is, it didn't go where I was expecting it to. As I was saying through the reaction, I was thinking that the father was like testing Siwen, and that it was more about like, you have to like prove yourself, you have to prove your dedication, everything. But no, he was just being a stubborn asshole. Clinging to old traditions that really aren't a thing anymore. They even say that right in the episode, that it's like, those traditions really aren't a thing you have to adhere to anymore. It's old-fashioned and everything. But it's not just needing the father's approval to get married. Like, they could have gotten married. But Siwen himself, he specifically chose to do it this way because he wanted to prove himself. He wanted to prove that he had that dedication. So he was falling in line with what I was thinking was going to be the case, but that wasn't actually what the father was thinking. So it's like, I feel like me and Siwen had kind of the same mindset. It's just that wasn't actually the situation. But at the end, it's been like decades. Like, they had phones, so it hasn't been like too long. I'm thinking Siwen and Ouyang were like in their early to mid 20s. in the flashback, well, not really flashbacks, in the dive time. I'm thinking they're early mid 20s, and they're probably 30 to 40 years older, right? If there's cell phones, and specifically ones that are modeled after Nokia's, that was probably the late 90s, I would say, maybe early 2000s. Does Link Click take place in the future? I don't know. Because I don't think it's only, like, if it takes place in, like, modern time, like 2023 or 2021 or something like that, I don't know. But if it does, like, I don't know. I feel like they look too older to be, like, the father could be older. Yes, but say that that his daughter and Siwan were 30. That's being generous because I don't think they were. But let's say they were basically my age, 30 years old. 23 years is like what? 53? If the flashbacks, if the dive stuff took place in like 2000. So like early 50s. Like, I guess they could be, but with the fact that their hair is like pure gray, I'm thinking they're probably more like in their 60s, I would say. But that doesn't seem possible. Let me check. I got a way of checking. When did Nokia cell phones come out? Okay. The first GSM phone, the Nokia 1011, was made commercially available in 1992, the same year I was born, actually, which was 31 years ago. So this could be early or even mid 90s that all took place. But Yang called his phone a relic, right? So it was at least outdated. According to this, in 1994, the Nokia 2100 series came out. So it could have been like only a few years outdated. That's possible. So I'm thinking that those flashbacks took place in the 90s. Let's say 96. So 96 to 2006 to 2016 to 2026. Let's just go upwards. That is 30 years. Then cut back 3 years. If this took place like current day in 2023, if we're supposed to believe this is current day, it would be 27 years. And again, if we're assuming they're the oldest, I honestly think they could be 30. They'd be 57, which I guess that's believable. Yeah, maybe. I like the dedication and everything though shown in this episode, like to love and everything, like a great concept. I like the dub voice. All the dub voices were great, every single one. But especially for our main trio. Oh, I didn't check who voiced Xiaoling. Link click Xiaoling dub voice. Oh, that's Susie Young. Okay. I thought she sounded familiar. But I couldn't place it. Susie Young's not a voice like I would instantly recognize. Like I've obviously heard her in various things here and there. Like she's Makima in Chainsaw Man. That's a big one recently. She's Miroshone in Stone Ocean. Going down. Oh, apparently she's Yuffie in the Final Fantasy VII remake. I know very little about that. I was never a Final Fantasy fan. For those who would know that, though, That's a little fun fact for you. Um, she's the Warhammer Titan in Attack on Titan. Okay. And various other characters. Yeah, she's been in a lot. She's a notable name. She's a notable VA for sure. Um, Actually hasn't been doing voice work for as long as I thought, but still done a number of things. Makima's probably her biggest role right now. But yeah, um, I thought she sounded kind of familiar, but I couldn't place it. Yes, again, Susie Young wouldn't be a VA I would instantly recognize, but I I did say she sounded familiar. I'm not going to look up all the voices for everyone else, though. But yeah, Zeno and Alejandro Saab did fantastic. They really owned the roles. Even though it was a little weird hearing Luke Wong sound so young, like I said, even though he is, I know he's young. I know him, Xiaoling, and Cheng Xiaoxi are very young. They're like, what, early 20s? I understand that, but it's still weird. Because again, his original Chinese voice actor sounds more mature, I would say. While Cheng Xiaoxi's VA sounds more like the young, hip kind of guy. And it works for Lu Guang to sound more mature just because he is typically more mature than Xiaoxi. He's more serious, he's more mature, he's more to the point and everything. It works for him. But like naturally he would have a younger voice. Like it also works. It just it was surprising. And Zeno did a great job. Zeno always does a great job. You could hear a little bit of Hunter in his performance in this too. Um, so that was fun. Yeah, I really thought this was a good episode. It was very much secluded, very much its own thing, and that's fine. It wasn't meant to connect to the main story too much. It's the only big thing it really connected to the main story with was basically showing how Xiaoxi and Xiaoling, because apparently that's how it's pronounced. I've been pronouncing her name wrong this entire time. But it shows how they ended up starting to train under Master Siwen. It gives us context for that. But that's the only big thing it gives, other than explaining who these three are for when they appear in Season 2. But either way, thank you so much for tuning in. Tell me your thoughts down below. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.